from fire danger, from broken utilities, and other hazards. We'll get you that information, and you can go to lacity.gov. I signed an executive order to expedite debris removal / regulations, preventing swift rebuilding, and establishing a framework to secure additional regulatory relief and resources. Our Disaster Recovery Center at the former Westside Pavilion has assisted thousands of people impacted by the fires, and everything from financial assistance to replacing a left-behind ID, and it's open 7 days a week. And I just have to tell you, it is very inspiring to go to the Disaster Recovery Center and see Angelinos who come in distressed and walk away with very specific results and assistance. I've also extended the tax deadline for LA businesses. It was supposed to be due in February. We've extended it to April 14th. And our Chief Recovery Officer, Steven Soboroff, has launched intensive efforts for phase 1 of the recovery. But now we have to prepare for a potential change in weather with the possibility of rain this weekend. So today I'm issuing an executive order to shore up burn areas and stem the flow of toxic debris in the event of rain this weekend. This is to prevent additional damage to areas already ravished by fire, and also to protect our watershed, beaches, and ocean from toxic runoff. The action plan I have directed our city public works bureaus to implement includes the installation of barriers, debris removal, and diverting runoff from our stormwater system and into our sewer system where it can be treated. And this is done in complete collaboration with our partners at the county. This firestorm left behind serious health and environmental impacts that hundreds of U.S. EPA personnel are assessing for removal. Later today, our newly appointed Chief Recovery Officer, Steven Soboroff, and I will be in the Palisades with Council Member Tracy Park and former Mayor of New Orleans, Mitch Landrieu, who played a key role in rebuilding after Hurricane Katrina and has served as the federal infrastructure czar. He will be playing a key role in our rebuilding, I believe, locally as well as in the state. I'm making sure that this is an all-hands-on-deck recovery and rebuilding effort, drawing on the expertise of the private sector and leaders from across the country. Now, let me introduce Councilmember Tracy Park, who has been fighting fearlessly for her constituents in the Palisades. Councilwoman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good morning, everyone, and thank you all for being here. The Pacific Palisades fire left the obvious devastation that we can all see, but there are also invisible threats that we can't afford to ignore. The wildfire didn't just burn trees and brush, it ripped through homes, vehicles, electronics, plastics, chemicals, furniture, and countless everyday materials, creating a dangerous mix of toxins. The remnants of burnt-out electric vehicles, batteries, and electronics contain heavy metals and hazardous materials and chemicals that can leach into our soil and pose threats to public health and safety. I normally pray for rain. God knows we generally need it. But right now, let me point out the obvious. The burn scar of the Palisades fire not only sits feet from the ocean itself, but already on hillsides that are already prone to slide and which have already absorbed a tremendous amount of water from firefighting, broken pipes, and melted pools. Adding water to this mess and saturated, unstable hillsides is the last thing we need, but we already know at some point it's going to happen. And let me remind folks, burn scars don't absorb water at a normal rate. They simply add to the risk of floods, landslides, and debris flow. Contaminants don't just stay where they fall. When it rains, they flow into our gutters and storm drains, our creeks and waterways, and eventually our beaches and ocean. Council District 11, our city's coastal district, serves as the repository for the watershed of the entire region. We already see beach closures after storm events, and the impact of pollution absolutely devastates our marine wildlife. As the representative of LA's coastal district, I personally feel a profound responsibility to safeguard our city's most treasured and environmentally sensitive region. That's why last week, the City Council approved my motion instructing the Bureau of Engineering and LA Sanitation to create a comprehensive waste mitigation and slope stabilization plan. I appreciate the help from Governor Newsom and Mayor Bass to get the regulatory hurdles out of the way so we can speed up this critical work and prevent further environmental impacts to the extent humanly possible. Because we've never seen a burn scar in an urban area of this scope and magnitude, my motion also instructs the Bureau of Engineering's GIS and Mapping Division to create an online post-fire hazard map to identify homes and properties that are at increased risk of mudslides and debris flow. We also need every resident to be part of the effort to stay safe and healthy. As people are permitted to return to the Palisades in coming days, either to return home or to inspect their properties, I strongly, strongly urge everyone to follow public health warnings and guidelines on handling ash and debris safely, and to wear the protective gear being provided to people as they return at entry points. And I'll finish on this point with a message to my friends and residents of the Palisades, many of whom are increasingly frustrated with the delays and lack of clear timelines about when they can return. You've all at least seen the images. The devastation and loss are immense, and our beautiful Palisades neighborhood is virtually unrecognizable. The work needed just to make the roads drivable and the area safe enough to allow people to start coming back has been a massive undertaking. I want to thank the hundreds of workers who have been on the ground, clearing fallen trees, broken power lines, turning off broken gas and water pipes, and sweeping nails from the streets, because the last thing residents need right now is a flat tire on top of everything else they're going through. As we go through this traumatic experience together, I want to reassure Palisades residents that we will be with them every step of the way, and that we will do everything we can to contain the damage already done and protect the health and safety of our environment and our community. Thank you.
Next, Chief Crowley.
Good morning, everyone. Your LEFD has had a very busy 24 hours. There were 3 additional brush fires fueled by high winds and dry vegetation within the city. I am happy to report that all 3 fires were kept very small and involved Griffith Park, Granada Hills, and the Tujunga areas. Due to the robust deployment models that included 64 additional resources and quick, decisive actions by LAFD firefighters, no homes were damaged or destroyed, and no evacuation orders were issued. In addition to responding to these brush fires, there were 3,370 911 calls for service that required 642 ambulance transports. The wind event will begin to decrease in intensity this afternoon. However, a fire weather watch remains in effect Tuesday evening through Thursday evening with gusty Santa Ana winds and very low relative humidity. I will now provide a brief update on the Palisades fire. The fire remains at 23,713 acres with 61% containment. Damage assessments are ongoing, and as of today, there have been 6,207 structures destroyed. There are currently 5,337 personnel assigned to this incident, and repopulation efforts continue today. I want to take the time to thank the community for your continued support and readiness. Our focus remains on full containment and extinguishment of this fire. A heartfelt thank you goes out to all the firefighters, first responders who have worked day in and day out for the past 14 days straight throughout this crisis. And as we enter and begin the third week of this disaster, our resilience and commitment to the community will continue to be unwavering. Next, I'd like to introduce LAPD Chief Dominic Choi.
Good morning. So today I'm going to provide a couple of updates on the status of what LAPD is doing related to the Palisades fire. First, the Los Angeles Police Department has completed an exhaustive search for any missing persons or deceased individuals within the Palisades burn area in the city of Los Angeles. And at this point, we have 5 confirmed fatalities or deaths related to the Palisades fire in the city of Los Angeles. Secondly, we stand at 44 total missing persons that have been reported. I'm happy to say of those 44 missing persons, only 1 missing persons report remains unresolved. We believe that we will have a resolution to that last report shortly. As you can see, the burn area continues to present hazards and challenges for all first responders and residents. Your safety remains our priority, and therefore our repopulation efforts must be methodical and sensitive to the needs of those communities going in there. So please know that all of our unified commanders are doing everything they can to allow safe access to the residents in this community as soon as they can. And I thank all of you for your patience. Specifically on the Palisades Highlands repopulation, so on January 19th, the Los Angeles Police Department established a community staging area at 1150 Pacific Coast Highway in Santa Monica in Lot 3. This was done to establish an orderly, residents-only repopulation plan for specifically the Palisades Highlands. The following process will continue today, and as other zones open up, this process will be the same and only will change if there's a need to change that process. Any new openings will be communicated by the Unified Command to our Joint Information Center and will be pushed out on all of our city websites and public-facing information portals. So again, this process is for residents only, and we ask that non-residents do not respond to the staging area. This community staging area is a collaborative effort between the Los Angeles Police Department, the California Highway Patrol, and the Los Angeles Department of Transportation. We're encouraging community members to respond to Lot 3 by traveling northbound on the California Incline, negotiate a left turn onto PCH, and stage their vehicle in the number 3 lane along the curb. Officers will be present to provide direction into the parking lot. Residents, once in the parking lot, will be asked to provide identification or documentation that validates their residency within that community. Residents will be offered access kits containing N95 masks and goggles for their safety, but we also encourage all of you, if you have your own personal protective equipment, to bring that as well. Once groups of vehicles are validated, the California Highway Patrol will escort caravans into the Palisades community, Palisades Highlands community. LAPD will have units available in this community to provide safe passage out of this community if you choose not to stay. We have asked community members to arrive at staging from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and will be escorted into this Highlands neighborhood. Escorts will not be available after 5 p.m. as hazards increase during the hours of darkness. If community members wish to remain in their residence, they can do so. But if you leave after 5 p.m., you cannot return until the next escort service continues, which will be 10 a.m. the following day. We remain on full tactical alert. We continue to deploy significant resources in and around the burn areas to prevent any criminal acts from occurring and to arrest those that do commit criminal acts. We continue to work with all of our partners, first responders, our National Guard, our CHP, Sheriff's Department, Port Police, Airport Police, and I'm thankful for all their support and help, and I ask you to be safe. Thank you.
Let me also acknowledge Keith Mose, the General Manager of the Bureau of Street Services, and Julie Allen, the Assistant GM of Sanitation Department. We'll take your questions. Yes, Julia. Well, that's what we will be discussing today, so he's coming here. You know, I think at one of the prior press conferences, people asked me, had I heard from other mayors? And I definitely have, and they've wanted to come and offer their experience, their guidance, and their expertise, and Mitch is in that, so we'll be talking about that today. Other questions? Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone.